Okay, good evening, everybody, to the viewers in Asia Pacific. Good afternoon to those of you watching in Europe. I talked to many of my friends in the UK who actually are taking time to watch this now out of your day. It'll be a great, refreshing break for you in the middle of your workday. And so thank you for joining. And for those of you in North America, good morning with your coffee. I'm really pleased today on the Packard Network Live to have a very special guest, somebody that I met last year, but I feel that we've known each other for a long time, and I'm sure that you'll agree with me after we get done here that you've known her as well because she's just a terrific person. Monica Millares, she's in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia right now. It's 9 p.m. And so, Monica, I appreciate you doing this late into the evening. And I know you have a lot of energy, though, so I don't feel too guilty. and But Monica is the head of product experience and SME at BigPay. She's also a podcast host. We'll talk a little bit about that. She's a mindset, emotions, and confidence coach. Okay, so she's into a lot of things. Her days are jam packed, and she basically, if I were to sum up what she does, she makes life better for everybody around her. So everything is positive, and she really gets people into a terrific go-getter mindset, and really helps people build faith and confidence in what they do. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But Monica has a very impressive background, extensive experience in the UK, in Mexico, and obviously in Asia, which is where she is. So that pretty, if you look at that through a diversity lens, she's worked in very, very different, distinct markets, and really has some terrific experience to couple with her wonderful personality, which is really the purpose today, is to showcase that. And she's an expert she's become an expert in building and working with teams on building fintechs, which is one of the hottest trends. There's probably better words for that, but it is definitely fintechs are definitely on the cutting edge of the future financial services landscape. She was a member of the founding team of a startup of BigPay. She's also worked for Visa, has experience with Visa, Barclaycard, and the UK Challenger Bank. I think Tandem was the name of that as well. So the credentials are incredible. And lastly, I just want to say that she's the host of Celebrate You, which is a personal development, money, and entrepreneurship podcast targeted, I think, for millennial women. And so with that, I'll catch my breath. Monica, welcome to the program. It's great to have you on this evening.
Hi, Brett. Thank you so much. And thank you for such a wonderful introduction.
Oh, well, you did all the work. Mine is just, it's my honor to know you. And I just love to have on this program people with diverse experience, people that have found a way to not just elevate themselves, which you have, but also people that are on a mission to elevate other people. And that's in summary what a big part of what you do and how you live your life. And Monica, it's great. When we met last year, it's contagious.
Thank you.
What you do, it just spreads. And so for those of you, we'll make sure we have information where you can find out where to track Monica down. But basically, if you want some inspiration, morning, noon, or night, then follow what she does, because it is truly uplifting. So Monica, let's talk. We're not going to talk a lot about business today and neobanks, but could you just give us I don't know, 60-second or 2-minute perspective on neobanks? I know BigPay is a neobank, and just because some of the viewers are not from financial services, and they might hear the word and they might just kind of view, how it works. It might be a buzzword for some people, but they really don't know what that means. Could you just take a minute to explain that?
Of course, yes. So for everyone who doesn't know what a neobank is and doesn't have the background from banking services, so we have our traditional banks. And then in the past 5 years or so, 8 years, Then we have new companies, startups. These are new banks that basically they are leveraging technology such that we can deliver better experiences for people, such that they can have better life with money. Money, usually it's a source of stress in people's lives. Like everybody, it doesn't matter where you're from, your age, how much you make. Money is a source of stress. So I would say the purpose of neobanks is to help everyone reduce that stress and manage money better, so that then you can live a better life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think that's wonderful. And so do you find that people they're in Southeast Asia, people of all ages are embracing this, or is there a particular age group? I'm just curious.
Yes, I think let's say when we started, it was a particular age group, but like the younger generation, because they are digital native. But now with the pandemic, everybody has accelerated the take-up rate when it comes to digital.
So it's amazing how the pandemic and continues to reshape everybody's everyday lives, right? So it sounds like you're kind of you've been involved in the right industry at the right time as well, right?
Yes.
For that acceleration. And I'm glad you're fast on your feet and nimble, because I'm sure that's required that BigPay and even Tandem had to be very swift with its development, right? It's a lot of hard work to build something because this didn't exist before, right?
Yes, exactly. And that is true. That's spot on. Like we're building something new from scratch, as complex as a new bank.
Oh, absolutely.
New financial services, like every fintech is doing that, building something new from scratch in a regulated environment.
Right. That's a really important point, right? I mean, you and I would both understand that, because we've lived with regulation all around us and through us and in us and out of us, and the whole thing. And it's important that you get it right, that all that regulators really want is to treat customers fairly and transparently, right? And that's easy to say. It's difficult to do. And from what I've seen, you all have done just an exceptional job with BigPay, and I know Tandem Make as well in your prior role. So I think that's fantastic. So let's talk about a lighter subject. Tell us a little bit about Celebrate You and what inspired you to do that, and how's it going?
Yeah, what inspired me to do it is, I guess it's been a dream for a long time. I remember even when I was in the UK, I told one of my previous managers, "Oh, I would love to have a talk show." He was like, "Oh, you need an audience." This was like many years ago. And then in the middle of the pandemic, like I was stuck here. Like it's not that I was bored, but yes, I was trying to maintain myself engaged. I was like, oh, there were two things that inspired me. Like one, that it's silly practical. And I thought there's going to be like a digital acceleration. There's going to be all these 18 to 20-year-old like saying nonsense online, having like great followers saying nonsense. And in 5 years' time, I will regret it if I don't do it as well, because I have something good to say other than nonsense. So that's what pushed me. But then the inspiration as such, I think I've been asked before, like, what advice would you give your younger self? And most of the times, until maybe a year ago, my answer was know yourself, because then you can manage yourself better. But for Women's Day last year, somebody asked me the same question. What's the best advice that you give yourself? And this time they didn't ask me face to face. I had to do a write-up, and I was properly outside, dark at night by the moon. And I was thinking, what is it? What could I tell myself? And it came to me, and it's celebrate you. It's not know yourself.
Oh, wow. It just came to you.
It came to me, and that's what I would have told
That's
myself when I was
beautiful.
13, 15, 17, 21, 28, like all ages, because we
Wow.
don't celebrate ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to
Right.
know yourself. Yes, I've been knowing myself and in the journey of knowing myself, but I have
Mm.
not been in the journey of celebrating myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had to do that. People celebrate me. Oh, you have a great background. For
Mm-hmm.
me, it's just me. So I don't celebrate it. But then I think many of us do the same thing. We don't celebrate ourselves enough. So
I
that
think,
inspires.
yeah, I think you're spot on. I think that's a wonderful and unique way to frame how we should, being grateful to other people is incredibly liberating, but it really starts with being grateful to ourselves and celebrating. I've never heard it framed that way, right? In all my years and experiences abroad, right? And I think that's a wonderful way. Celebrate yourself, right? We hear about celebrate success and all of that. Sure, we should definitely do that, but celebrate yourself, right? We're here, right? We're here
Yes.
today. We get through difficult periods, together. We go through good times together. Celebrate, right? I think that's
And
great. Yeah.
yes, and it's not just about celebrating you and the positives. It's
Mm-hmm.
embracing also the quote unquote negative sides as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like celebrating the mistakes that you make on the way as well. Celebrating that I didn't get that outcome, but I got closer. I took action. I was
Yeah.
more confident, like celebrating the both sides and accepting yourself fully. I think it's about what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Forward progress and it's all part of our growth, right?
Exactly.
As well. So how's it going? How's the podcast going? And what's your take on how many months have you been doing this, and how would
Yeah.
you assess its effectiveness versus your original mission?
Oh, that's a great question. It started as a hobby.
Uh-huh.
So it was not well, it is still a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's been almost a year. 1st of March, it's my 1 year anniversary. I
Congratulations. Yeah.
think the first year has been very test and learn, getting the habits. The Now entering into my second year, then I want to elevate it to the next level, to be more consistent, to instead of just going with the flow with my episodes and guests, plan them, have a purpose. Why am I doing this episode? What are the listeners getting from this episode? Rather
Mm-hmm.
than, oh, let's just invite my friends and people in my network to talk about something interested. So I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make it more intentional so that I can deliver more intentional value to listeners.
Mm-hmm.
And the how it's in terms of how do I measure success? Spotify just released the year-end basically roundup, let's say, and
Mm-hmm.
then they give you insights about the podcast. And there
Mm-hmm.
was a line that said, you were the favorite podcast for 34 of your fans. And I was like, oh, I didn't know
Wow.
that.
That's
I was like,
fantastic.
amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was like, oh, that is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
So that
wonderful.
tells me that metric that I didn't know. That's what
Mm-hmm.
tells me that it's doing well. Because it's not always about mass reach, but it's like the people that really are aligned with what you are talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Getting
and that's they're engaged, right?
yes,
That's apparent that they're
that
engaged
says
with it.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a lot of podcasts out there. I don't know how many there are, but it's actually that's a big deal what you've just said, right? Because there's how many, I don't know how many podcasts there are. There's thousands, right? Or tens of thousands or something, but that's wonderful. Yeah, that's fantastic. So, what has surprised you the most about the podcast, would you say?
Oh, that's great.
Anything, or was it pretty much like you expected?
No, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
But
I know.
you can't just say I'm going to sign on and go in here, and so it
Oh, no,
takes some planning. Yep.
it takes planning, it takes
Hmm.
discipline. It has helped me. That's a good point. It has helped me build new skills, marketing skills, confidence skills. Like it's a whole discipline on its own. So that has been part of the what I was not expecting or thinking about is the personal growth that I've had because I've done the podcast. Because
Hmm.
in addition to growing the platform, let's say, I also have very interesting conversations with interesting people that mainly we talk about mindset. So with every conversation, I'm growing. And not only with the conversation, but as I listen to the episode and think, what are the key points
Hmm.
that I need to build in the marketing comms for social media? Then it's like, oh, that is the key point. And then every episode, I learn one or two key points that I introduce into my life. So it's been amazing just for growth.
Yeah, I mean that's fantastic, and I think you've just pointed out something that for anybody thinking about doing a podcast, there's additional benefits above and beyond just inspiring the audience or educating the audience, which is personal development. I think Monica heard you talk about that, and I think that's wonderful. Sometimes when we do these types of new new initiatives, we learn things, and maybe it wasn't designed initially to have us learn. It was designed to give to others, which I know is really important to you, but it's also benefited your own growth. That's
Yes.
great. Yeah, that's fantastic. Monica, let's talk about your success. If you look back just at your career, it's really impressive. You've been in 3 major regions of the world, in Europe, in North America, and now in Asia, right? All very different places. Did you design this? How did it turn out that, if you just kind of look at it from 50,000 feet in the air, how did all of this happen? Was it designed, or did it just happen? Or tell us about that.
Oh, that's a beautiful perspective. Did I design it? I guess the answer is yes, I did. Did it
Okay.
happen intentionally in a very specific order?
Mm-hmm.
No, I did it one step at a time. So I'm
Okay.
originally from Mexico. So my younger self was attracted to moving out of the country and studying my master's abroad.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how I ended up in the UK.
Okay.
In the UK I stayed for 10 years, almost 9 years. That was a very strategic decision. Every year I would think, do I want to stay? Do I want to go back? And then that's how I started creating it. And I remember one of my best friends, Nicole, like we would meet in Hyde Park during summer, and then we would design our plans and we would draw and we would challenge each other. So every year, like we would intentionally think, for example, why was I staying in tandem if it was hard work? If it required intentional learning path for me to stay in that place.
Mm-hmm.
And every year it was the same. And then when the opportunity in Asia came, then I had always wanted to live in Asia for at least 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
I did not look for it, but it came to me. And then I was like, well, I have nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
and then I moved. But same, it's like for years, I am very intentional into what is it that I want to create. I may not have a direct path, but yes, I do create the vision for my life.
Yeah, you're right. It's life is never linear, regardless of that. And I, like you, I believe in designed luck.
Yeah,
If we design
law.
if we
That's
design it, yeah, we can count on it. If we design it, we don't know how it'll happen exactly, but sitting on the couch waiting for something to fall into your lap, that hasn't worked for me ever.
Yes.
Probably because I don't sit on the couch, but anyway.
Yes,
I think that's great. Yeah.
I love that phrase, designed luck.
Yeah, exactly. It's really powerful. And that's how I'd sum up what you just described. How do you cultivate faith and confidence? Because you've done a lot of things that are actually, one of the things that I was really impressed with when we first met was that you've done a lot of things, and you're a lot like a pioneer, right? A lot of firsts with what you do, right? Um, the neobanks is an example, right? And this, you started with some classical banking background, Visa, Barclaycard, classic type of things. And I'm sure they did some innovative things along the way. But, neobanks is, I mean, that's something brand new. It's like waters that people haven't sailed before. So how did tell us a little bit about your mindset, if you could, about how you build faith and confidence to be a pioneer?
Yeah, I'll attribute this to my parents. So
Hmm.
when growing up, they always told me, you can do anything that you want as long as you work really hard. So I grew up with that mindset, and they were very strict with me at school. So I was always like good at school, and I
Hmm.
was used to being a high achiever. So that was kind of one side. The
Hmm.
other was that's more on a personal level that I guess like that marked my life. My mom passed away when I was 20. And one of her phrases was, you have to live today as if it was the first and the last day of your life.
Hmm.
So I grew up with that thinking. So
Hmm.
when she passed away, I was like, oh shoot, today
Hmm.
could be the last day of my life. I might as well start living as if it was the first day as well. So that really kind of like got stuck in my mindset.
Hmm.
So, and that it happened when I was very young, and it had such a strong impact in terms of life is fragile, then the normal fears of people, like to me, they were like, well, this is really hard, you
Oh
know?
yeah, right. Hmm.
That was impactful. Therefore, everything else was just like easy. What's the
Hmm.
worst case? You go, it doesn't work. Well, that's fine. Like you can do whatever
Hmm.
you want. Like that's what you were told when you were little. You can achieve anything you want as long as you put the hard work. So I think those two key things is what drove my mindset since very young.
Hmm. Absolutely. And there's a lot in that, to unpack, right? And the very wise advice of your mother, right? And again, I haven't quite heard it phrased that way before. And live, I've heard, we've all heard about, live today as if it's your last, but as if it's your first and your last. A lot of energy and enthusiasm and ready to get out there and create. The infants are so creative, aren't they? you know and then as we age and mature and we become more conservative and a lot less creative. So I think that's an incredibly powerful mindset.
Mindset, exactly.
That's that's a great way to build that. How do you deal with obstacles? I'm sure that it hasn't always, we just spoke, it's not linear, right? How do you deal? I was talking to somebody yesterday, actually one of my mentors, and we're talking about when you take off in an airplane, in a jet, on a rough weather day, it's cloudy, it's gray, kind of dark skies. You take off, but within about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the pilot finds blue sky and it's smooth, right? But dealing with the obstacle of choppy conditions, I'm sure you've had to deal with that before. How do you, what's your mindset for overcoming obstacles?
I have many strategies
Hmm.
and I've
Let's hear them,
implemented here.
because a lot of people have to deal with this every day.
Yes. So I have multiple strategies.
Hmm.
So it depends. If it is really, really difficult, let's say, such that I need to make decisions,
Hmm.
then it's never go with emotions first. I need to ensure that my mind, my heart, and my gut are aligned. And this is where knowing yourself comes in. Because then
Hmm.
it's like, hey, it's difficult, but do I want to quit? Do I want
Hmm.
to stop doing this? Do I want to go back home or whatever it is? Do I want to end the relationship? no, it's not emotional. It's, hey, mind, emotions, and gut. Once the three are in alignment, then I can make a decision. So that's stopping me from making decisions that I would regret later because I was emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that's one.
Yeah.
The other one is journaling, especially if I have too much in my head, just like writing it down without any specific purpose, just to get it out of my system. Then that's another one. Of course, the support of my family is huge. I'm a talker, so I love communicating whenever I have a problem and I think it through. So my family has always been there to listen to me so that I can come to the answer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then I think the two things that I've adopted in the past 2 years more rigorously is meditation and breathing. So I've practiced meditation for a few years now, but I think it's until I moved to Asia. The first 6 months were very difficult for me just to adapt. It was just a culture shock. So when I moved to Asia, I just had to meditate. Otherwise, it was just too much. Then comes lockdowns 2 years ago, and then meditation is not enough. My brain is all over the place because of stress. And then since a few years ago, probably a year ago, I've been using breathing techniques, pranayama breathing. And the beautiful thing about pranayama is that given that we're breathing, we're changing our physiology. And basically, as we count, we engage the mind as well. So it's meditative breathing. And then it calms me down. And then once we're calmed down, then the monkey brain stops and you feel human again. And you stop seeing the fears and the challenges and everything. So breathing, pranayama breathing has been life-changing. The other strategy that I also use is, working on my mindset as such, as in proper redesigning. That's what I do. I redesign my self-image. So sometimes we doubt ourselves a lot. So I will go through a process of saying, hey, what have I done that I'm proud of? Coming back to celebrate you. It's like, what makes me me? What am I grateful for? Like I question my brain to give me positive reinforcement so that I don't need positive reinforcement from the outside.
Okay. So you take responsibility and take charge of this, right? You're not just waiting for it to play out.
Exactly. And then I'm also very strategic. So when it comes to a challenging situation, whether at work or at life, then it's I ask myself, what am I learning? Why is this good, even if it's challenging? How can I help me in the future? And you'll always find a good thing. Always, always. So it's just a mix of all those strategies that then allow me to push through whenever we have to.
Yeah, that's wonderful framing. And I know for the viewers out there, you'll have to figure out which of these, if not all of them, can work well for you. But Monica, I have seen you demonstrate the breathing meditation on your, I think, LinkedIn feed, right? So yes. So we'll make sure we provide access after this program that others can actually see you in action with this, because it's really, it's not only inspirational, but it's you can apply it to your everyday life, right? To make these things happen. And I think that's great. And it's just wonderful how you do these things and share them to help other people. I think that's great. It really says what kind of person you really are, right? You care about that. Monica, last subject, women in a corporate environment. Okay. Do you have any advice to women that are performing well. They love what they do. They have dreams and aspirations, but let's face it, okay, in many parts of the world, most parts of the world, there's a legacy, history, however you want to put it, of either an unconscious bias or a whole bunch of other issues. We won't get into all of them, where women are maybe less assertive in a corporate environment than they are in their own mind. You with me on that?
Yes.
I don't know if I phrased that the right way, but I wanted to be careful with how I said that, because these again are just, these are the nuts and bolts of companies that I know, the smartest people. And if you look at impact based on my experience, that impact has come as much for women as it has from men. But if you look at senior ranks and even board composition, it's not reflected. Yeah, it's out of balance. So I think you get the point. Anyway, I'll hush right there and hear your perspective.
What advice could I give women?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, you've done it, right? So you've kind of broken through a lot of that in your career, right? Yeah.
Yes, I think I would tell them, and I tell them because I mentor
right,
young
through your coaching and mentoring, right?
Yeah, both mentoring and coaching. One is, it is very important that you know how to manage your emotions.
Okay.
Because sometimes work can be difficult. I used to cry. Like when I was like at the beginning of my career, I could go to the bathroom and cry. And then I was like, oh, I'm not the only one. Like you would see women in the bathroom crying. Not everybody's aware of that. And now we work at home, so that, like it's different. But years ago, like I go to cry, and I know that other women also cry at work. So sometimes difficult conversations happen at work, and it just moves emotions. It's not good, it's not bad, just moves emotions. Some people cry, some people get angry, some people get anxious. It's just a different reaction. So it is important that we know how to manage that burst of emotion so that it doesn't control us. Number one. Number two, be clear on what is your strategy, like own your career. At some point of your careers, you'll be like, hey, I want to try different things. That was me 6 years ago when I joined Tandem. No risk. Let's go and start a new bank. Let's do something new. Move to Asia. Oh, like know what you want, and know at the stage of your career, what is it that you want from work. At some point, you may want to work. Doesn't matter. You work until 1 a.m. At some point, you may be like, no, now family is more important, and I want more work-life balance. So it's important that you drive what you want from work, and don't let society influence you that you have to go up the ladder or you have to go in certain way.
That's a great point.
You decide. That's that. And then the third one is mentors. Look for mentors that can help you either within the organization or someone outside the organization, but then it helps you manage the challenges of work or to help you achieve what is it that you want to achieve. So with those three things, manage your emotion, drive your career path, and then have mentors, then I think you are placed to create the work-life balance and the success that you want. And
I mean,
a woman or a man.
what a wonderful blueprint from somebody that's done it, right? And I think that's great. And it's not, like we spoke earlier, Monica, right? It's not always smooth, but what in life is smooth, right? And I think that just a wealth of knowledge that you've kindly shared with this audience, this global audience, actually, and I know it's going to help a lot of people. And if it helps just one, we've been successful. So, Monica, any parting words or anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to close with? we talked about a lot of things. So
Yes, we talked about a lot of things. Enjoy.
yeah,
Like just
enjoy life.
2022, and
Mhm.
everybody, well, not everybody, many people that are thinking what is it that we want out of this year. Just remember to enjoy whatever, everything. Enjoy work, enjoy friends, enjoy eating, enjoy life.
Yeah, I think so.
Out of
And
feeling, but
I tell you,
enjoy.
yeah, and to heed your mother's advice, I think is wonderful. Let's live today like it's our first and our last, right? And that just, to me, I mean, that's really resonating. I've heard that for the first time today, right? And that's really resonating, and it's just that has a lot of energy and enthusiasm about today, right now, right? And it's a
Okay.
great mindset to have.
Yes.
Monica, I'd like to thank you for being on the program, and I appreciate you joining, and I look forward to having you back sometime. And I wish you continued success with all of these incredible things that you're doing, and
Thank
because you really make a difference for a lot of people. And I encourage everybody to also tune into your podcasts and make sure that everybody is picking up some terrific pointers from you on a regular basis. These are weekly podcasts, right?
Yes, they are.
Okay, great. That's fantastic. So great. Good. Monica, thank you. And thank you all for tuning in. And next week, the cameras will move to North America, to the state. Well, I'm not going to reveal it, or some of you might know who it is. So I'll announce it properly next week, but we'll be back next week, and I'll have an incredible woman on here to talk about how she's been so successful in her global career. And I look forward to seeing you all then. Thanks very